even mindless things. But if you can sell it, you can sell it and you can get more money out of it. Teenagers that would just want to get done with the degree without learning and go for the job. Education that is centered around empathy, education that is centered around the whole or the entire picture, that is something that is required. You also need to train the new breed of entrepreneur, right? The dairy industry is one of the most problematic industry in the entire world. But India, the land of ahimsa, the non-violent country, is among the top 5 exporters of beef because you consume dairy. Trying to understand, trying to get into the shoes of a person next to you, rather than trying to get into the shoes of a god, which is almost impossible. Don't be afraid of being wrong. We can have a lot of misconceptions and it's okay to be wrong. But then when you come to the truth, it's always liberating. Hello, I am Nishant Gopalan and I have been an educator and I currently am a director at Earthtech Innovations Private Limited. Let me start by asking you a question. If the entire world was divided into 2 teams, team only money and team compassion, what could you do so that team compassion can score some points? We all know that team only money is winning. So what can you do so that team compassion can win just some points? That is the question that we are going to talk about today. If that is the question, then what is the problem that we are facing? The problem that we are facing is that the world all over is driven by economic gradients, right? So there is poverty somewhere and somebody is rich. So the poor nation has to provide food for the rich nation, and the rich nation provides addicting technologies or something else to the poor nation, right? So these economic gradients are what runs the entire globe. Everybody is just worried about how you can get the most you can when you're trading. So how can you get more dollars for a kilo of rice, or how can you get more dollars for a cell phone or even a content on the cell phone, right? So everything is just about getting a little bit more for whatever you are producing. And there is no oversight, right? This entire system, the world, the ecosystem of trade runs around this philosophy of how can you get more for what you produce. It can be anything, it can be even mindless things. But if you can sell it, you can sell it and you can get more money out of it. So if you're talking about simple systems, right? Suppose you're talking about, say, a vegetable vendor. Then the vegetable vendor is just concerned about how he can make money for his own family, right? And there are, suppose, say, 1,000 vegetable vendors, and 1,000 vegetable vendors are just thinking about that. And there is no oversight or regulation that tells the vegetable vendors, no, you have to do business this way so that your family will survive for the next 50 years or your generations will survive for next 50 years. All the vegetable vendor is worried about is how can I give food for the next day, right? How can I make money for the next day? So since there is no oversight, there is no vision, and this entire ecosystem runs by very simple principles, there are going to be dead ends. There are definitely going to be dead ends, and one of the biggest dead ends that we have come to right now is climate change, is economic disparity and so many other problems that have been manufactured because of because of because of a system that was optimized just based on economic gains, right? So if this is how we put the problem, right? So what is the solution? The solution is, it's not a simple solution that you can put a coin somewhere or put money somewhere else and you can get the problem of climate change or the problem of economic disparity, it'll just go. It's not going to work out that way. It is a complex solution, right? And one of the basic steps of solving this problem is good education, right? When I was an educator at an organization that I was previously engaged with, I had to teach large classes, and most of the classes would be composed of teenagers that would just want to get done with the degree without learning and go for the job. Again, you can understand the system is asking them to do this, optimize for money. So what can I do? I learn this skill or I learn this much, get my degree, get money. So education that is centered around empathy, education that is centered around the whole or the entire picture, that is something that is required. Along with this, you also need to train the new breed of entrepreneur. The new breed of entrepreneur who does not just think about the business model canvas, right? The new breed of entrepreneurs must think about sustainability in business as well as sustainability of the ecosystem on the whole. And when that happens, we have the first leg of the solution, right? And when the first leg of the solution is complete, then the consumers will come, right? When you are the consumer, you should know about what you are consuming. Now, most of us do not know about what we consume because there is simply too much information. It is overwhelming and everybody is just asking for your attention. Everybody wants to have that little piece of attention so that they can sell something that you might never be satisfied with, and you pay $1 for it or you pay ₹1 for it. And once you have such a situation, the problem is just going to go downhill, and it's just going to lead to another dead ends. So once you have entrepreneurs that think about sustainability, not just economic sustainability, even environmental, ecosystem-based sustainability, you also need to have consumer awareness. So how do you get consumer awareness? Just simply read, go through science literatures, try to read about art industry, why the art industry actually exists. It is a tax haven for the rich, if a lot of you do not know about it. Why do you think is the cell phone industry such a problem? Why do you think? I'll cite some examples, right? The dairy industry is one of the most problematic industry in the entire world, right? So you say that there is carbon dioxide emissions from all of the transport industry, right? Coming from road transport, airways, as well as sea transport. If you think about the carbon dioxide coming from all of those industries and they come up together, the dairy industry actually matches them neck to neck. How is that possible? Right? How is that possible? And how do you not know that? Because you've not been doing your reading. That's as simple as that. The dairy industry produces a lot of carbon dioxide because carbon dioxide equivalent emissions, because the dairy industry actually gives out a lot of methane, right? Gobar gas plants, as you might know. If you do not keep gobar in an enclosed place, or cow dung or buffalo dung in an enclosed place, it is obviously going to produce methane. Now, methane is 80 times more potent than carbon dioxide. as a global warming or as a gas for global warming, as a instrument of global warming. And because of this, the dairy industry is a big culprit, but nobody talks about it. Instead, the dairy industry is hailed as an employment provider. The dairy industry is the sole responsible industry for India becoming one of the top 5 beef exporters in the entire world. So these facts might come out as alarming to you guys, but India, the land of ahimsa, the non-violent country, is among the top 5 exporters of beef because you consume dairy. Because you want a lot of cell phones. There is a lot of mining happening in Brazil. Because you're asking for more meat, not per se maybe in Gujarat. Because of that, the Amazon forest is burned down to produce agricultural land for soybean, because soybean is a good source of protein. So why not just eat soya yourself and reduce the carbon emissions that is caused. So there are so many examples of industries which look so innocent on the outside, but they're completely unsustainable for the planet. They're unsustainable as business models, right? But still they are being propagated. Why do they get propagated? Obviously because there are political instruments behind them, because you're addicted to these technologies or to these products like milk. Milk is very addicting. I mean, the first time you drink it, you don't want it, but then you can't quit chai, right? It's a very simple analogy. So how did I implement the solution? I went about becoming an educator. I used to teach at least students about the Indian Constitution, what the founding fathers of our country wanted us to do. They wanted us to believe in humanism, right? Which talks about empathizing more, which talks about trying to understand, trying to get into the shoes of a person next to you, rather than trying to get into the shoes of a god, which is almost impossible. I used to talk about how you have to develop businesses centered around environmental problems, how you want to alleviate those problems, and at the same time allow people to grow economically. So money doesn't become the end goal, money becomes a tool for sustainability, right? And that's when I encountered some of the ex-students from the institute where I used to teach, and all of us together we launched a company. We launched a company called Earthtech Innovations Private Limited. We talked about automating the process for biogas production, right? Because nobody wants to use biogas. Why doesn't anybody want to use biogas? Because it's too inconvenient. You don't want to dirty your hands. So we tried to remove that factor of dirtying your hands and getting into biogas production, thereby removing the emissions that are caused by food waste or cow dung or buffalo dung. And we tried to develop the technology around that. We tried to make an innovative solution which would control the parameters inside the biogas plant and also send critical data back to the company and back to the user that allows them to keep the biogas plant running without shutting down. So these are the two reasons that biogas plants were not being used, even though it's a great technology, right? One is nobody wants to get their hands dirty. Second is if it stops, it requires a lot of time to restart, and people just don't want to do that extra bit of mehnat. Along with that, I have also been involved actively with one of my previous students, and we are trying to work out a solution for a milk alternative, right? The milk industry is causing so much of problems, so why not attack it from multiple prongs, right? Once you go for innovations in biogas technology, second way is get a beverage out in the market which can replace the traditional milk, right? So a student of mine, Vikas Kachia, a friend of mine, Professor Shreyas Dhulia and me, we have been working on tirelessly to produce, to optimize actually a beverage that is made from almonds, that's made from coconut as well as soy, and it makes excellent tea and coffee. You can easily replace your dairy whitener with this product. So this has been my journey. My journey has been always focused on trying to include empathy in business solutions, trying to understand more about the science of the entire ecosystem into the business plan, right? And then trying to implement the economics, whether the economics work out or not. And this has led me to this particular place over here. What can you do? If this has been my journey, what can you do as a person, as a youngster, as an old person, or somebody just like me? What you can do is read more. Don't be blind. The more you read, the more you get away from 1-minute videos and start reading detailed reports, right? I know it is difficult, I know it is painful, but the more you do that, the more you come close to reality, the more you would understand the problems that surround you. Second thing that you can do is don't be afraid of being wrong, right? You might be thinking that photosynthesis is like plants take up the nutrition from the ground, and then I ask you a question like, why isn't there any hole near the roots of the plant if the plant is continuously sucking out nutrients? And the simple solution is that plants take the mass of the plant or the mass of the tree, it comes out from the carbon dioxide that is there in the air. It takes up each molecule of carbon dioxide and puts it into its own body. That's where the mass comes in. So we can have a lot of misconceptions, and it's okay to be wrong. But then when you come to the truth, it's always liberating, right? So don't be afraid to be wrong. Ask questions. Ask questions where questions are not welcome. Ask questions where questions are welcome as well, right? Because if you ask questions in class, right, you would get more of an insight into what is happening in the world around you. If you ask questions to people who make policies, right, politicians, directors of companies, that's where you would ask, when you do that, you would ask them to be more responsible. If you ask your politician, if India is the biggest exporter of beef, what is my state doing, or what is my municipal corporation doing for it? Should I be doing something for it? Should I be reducing my milk, or should I be stopping artificial insemination? What should I be doing? When you ask such questions to people in power, to people who have a lot of money, it makes a difference, right? And along with this, all you can do is encourage, empathize with a lot of people, not sympathize. Put yourselves in their positions and encourage them. Encourage them to take that solution that they have to the next level. Encourage them to apply for fellowships, to apply for research grants, or to even startup grants, for them to go ahead and solve these problems creatively, right? When you start doing these things, it is going to slowly but steadily change the world around you. I have already reached the 35th year of my life. My life is almost half over, or half remaining. And this is where I am giving you this piece of advice. You might be younger than me, great. Now you have a lot of time. You might be older than me, great. Now you can encourage a lot of people. But the best thing that you can do is, generation after generation, let this change become possible. With this, I would like to conclude this particular Genius Talk, and I would like to say, just score 1 point for team compassion through what I just said. Start reading, start encouraging, start empathizing. Thanks a lot.